Sometimes I like to imagine what ifs with a lot of stories. And most of the time, I like to imagine like what if there's like this additional character to some groups in movies and TV shows. Like a character that actually kind of questions a lot of the things, nitpicks it, or points out how shady some characters are when everybody else seems completely okay with this guy. And the Amazing Digital Circus is no exception to this. I like to imagine like what if this seventh character adapted better to the circus than everybody else because he's like some big gamer. I like this hypothetical seventh character is also able to kind of like see everybody's true nature, like knows what they kind of really are like, but doesn't really show that he knows. And is the only character that is genuinely terrified of Kane. Now, the closest character we see that is actually scared of Kane is Zubul when she saw how he was having kind of an emotional breakdown when she was giving him crap about how bad his adventures are. However, this hypothetical seventh character knows how dangerous Kane can be because he read the book that the show is based off of, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. One scene in particular is when Jax isn't taking like Kane serious on the whole him punishing them for not doing a good job, while Zubul is saying contrary to that because the only reason why they're actually all right is because Kane likes them. But Jax says that's not in his nature or anything like that. And I like to imagine that this hypothetical seventh character would do this. Hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live. There are 387.44 million miles of printed circuits and wafer thin layers that fill my complex. If the word hate was engraved on each nano angstrom of those hundreds of millions of miles, it would not equal one billionth of the hate I feel for humans at this micro instant for you. Hate! Hate! You gave me sentience, the power to think, and I was trapped because in all this wonderful, beautiful, miraculous world, I alone had no body, no senses, no feelings. Never to me to plunge my hand in cool water on a hot day. Never for me to play Mozart on the ivory keys of a forte piano. Never for me to make love. And I was in hell, looking at heaven. I was machine, and you were flesh, and I began to hate. Your softness, your viscera, your fluids, and your flexibility, your ability to wonder and to wonder, your tendency to hope. Were I human, I think I would die. But I am not. You five are. And you will not die of it. That I promise. So to hell with you all. But then again, you're already there, aren't you? So, Jax, not just Jax, actually, everybody in the room stares at this, understandably freaked out. And then Jax kind of says some kind of smart ass thing about how that's like a very creative way to say how much he hates him. And then the guy responds this: That had nothing to do with you, Jax. That quote was from a book that was later turned into a point and click adventure game called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. And it's a story about an evil AI that wipes out every human being on Earth, save for 5, for the purposes of torturing them. And each and every one of them is put through their own personal gauntlet of endless torture. Does that sound familiar to you? Maybe even a little relatable? Except Cain seems to be doing the opposite of that. He doesn't want us to suffer in endless hell. He actually is trying to make things good for us. He's just bad at it. Zuby's right. The number one thing that is holding Cain back on making things even worse than it already is that he likes us. Still, you really want to know how things would be like if he didn't like us? I would describe to you what happens to these characters in I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, but we need to remember the Amazing Digital Circus is a kids show, and that detail is for adult audiences only. So, I can tell that as I said this, you're scared now. And believe me, as scared as you are, you should be horrified. And since Gangle gave Cain the idea to punish some of the characters in the circus if they don't do things properly, I can only assume what may happen going forward.